What's going on, everybody? You found Bottom Tier Collector. I'm your host, The Bearded One, bringing you a top tier question list from a top tier channel, Neil Collects. Even though these questions are top tier, these answers about to be bottom tier. You know how we do over here on Bottom Tier Collector. So, first up, before I get started, Neil Collects does a question series, 10 random questions. And he issues open challenges to the community, so no one's specific. Although for this round 4 of questioning, I've personally been tagged in his comment section. I feel honored that Neil would tag me, so definitely going to take the time to answer round 4. I might go back through and see which question. I know I didn't get round 1 and maybe round 3. I may take the time to answer round 1 and round 3 of questioning throughout the month, just to get caught up and say I have answered all of his questions. But if you would like to enter this challenge, feel free. It's for everybody. I'm going to continue the trend of open challenges. Just whoever wants to answer these questions, and then tag Neil, since Neil's the creator of this challenge, and so he can see what your answers were. Number 1, if you had 3 wishes, what would they be? Can't wish for more wishes. So my first wish off the bat would be something personal to me. I would wish for my son Owen, who's only 5 years old, and my soon-to-be born daughter Georgia, to have the ability, once they're out of the house and they're able to be adults and pursue their lives on their own. I would wish that they would have the ability to pursue their happiness. Whether that happiness, that goal that they think is going to bring them the most joy in life, be it riches, be it fame, be it, creative pursuits, be it falling in love and having a normal life, settling down. Whatever it may be, I just would wish that they would have that and not have to settle for anything, and not that no tragedy would ever befall them in their pursuit of happiness. My second wish would be that the fall of the WCW would never happen, that we would still have the WCW today. It would be the 3rd biggest promotion, 4th biggest promotion out there. I think we got plenty of room for wrestling promotions. There's way more wrestlers than there are wrestling companies, and the world would be a better place if WCW had never seen its downfall. And my third wish, I would wish for George Lucas to remove the special edition scene where Greedo shoots first. Han shot first. It's integral to his character. Everybody needs to accept this, and we need to go back to Han Solo shooting first. It changes his character when Greedo shoots first. Question number 2. Are you an early morning person or a late night person? So this is kind of a weird question for me. I think when everybody was a teenager, early 20s, mid 20s, maybe even late 20s, we were all late night people. Partied at night. I definitely did. I was a partier until roughly I met my wife. Stayed up real late, getting into trouble, up to no good, playing music, being angry at the world, being rebellious, that sort of thing. And I've tamed out. I've become an old man. I'm only 33, but I'm definitely a lot more responsible with my sleep schedule these days. I'm up by 6:45, 7 a.m. during the week because, working second shift, I'm at work while my son's at home, out of school. So if I don't get up early enough to drop him off at school, I don't get that time to see him during the week. And that's special time for me. And I also get to see my wife. She's a high school teacher. So I get to see my wife and my son during the week if I get up that early. But what defines late night? Working second shift, I get off at 10 p.m. I'm at home by 10:30, and between 11 and 1 a.m., depending on how tired or jazzed I am, I'm asleep. So if 1 a.m. is late night to you, then I guess I could be a late night person. And during the weekend when I have less responsibilities, I definitely sleep in. And if I had no responsibilities at all, I probably would be somebody that stayed up late and slept in during the day. But yeah, I guess I live as an early morning person, but I wish I could be a late night person. Question number 3, what's your biggest pet peeve? My biggest pet peeve is Marvel fans saying that Lobo is DC's Deadpool. Lobo is about 7 years older than Deadpool, and there's this sense of... There's just a sense I get from younger fans where they think breaking the fourth wall and cracking sarcastic jokes and being that kind of off color character started with Deadpool. And you had John Byrne's She-Hulk run before that. You had Lobo before that. Although Lobo doesn't crack the fourth wall like Deadpool does, but he definitely fits in that vein. He's compared to Deadpool, which is odd. And then Howard the Duck was way before any of them cracking the fourth wall. And then who knows, maybe you older fans could tell me characters older than Howard the Duck that kind of fit into that category of cracking jokes, making comics silly, and breaking the fourth wall and that kind of deal. But yeah, Lobo is not DC's Deadpool. Lobo was created in Omega Man to be a one-off character. Crisis on Infinite Earths happened. Keith Giffen decided to reinvent Lobo to be a parody of characters like Cable, Punisher, and Wolverine. So if anything, Lobo is DC's Wolverine. Let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. And then Deadpool is whatever Deadpool is. Deadpool is just Rob Layfield's can't draw feet creation that just happened to pop off and has 2 movies or whatever. I don't hate Deadpool, but let's just stop saying Lobo is DC's Deadpool, because he's Deadpool's daddy, if anything. Number 4, if you could eat lunch with 3 dead people, who would they be? I think number 1, I'd like to eat lunch with Thomas Jefferson. Let's get the elephant out of the room. I understand he's from a time and place where a lot of societal norms are deemed very horrible and racist. I'm not a racist person. I'm definitely anti-racism. But a lot of my other political beliefs, he tends to be the father of libertarianism. I consider myself... I've never divulged my politics on camera, and I told myself I never would, but I guess I will here. I lean libertarian. Except for any of the hyperbole, extreme far alt-right stuff you hear on the internet. All that stuff, the signal virtually just erase that. I'm none of that. I just believe in civil liberties. Let's just put it that way. And Thomas Jefferson, albeit one of the greatest hypocrites of all time, is kind of the father of civil liberties, and I'd love to just have lunch about that part of his brain and pick his brain about that. Okay, controversy aside, feeling a little awkward that I disclosed my political beliefs on camera. I'd like to have lunch with Nikola Tesla. There are rumors and reports. I've seen specials on History Channel where he was going to give the world free energy. And then there's conspiracies about J.P. Morgan, the banker, conspiring with Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb, to endorse his DC power. Nikola Tesla, I believe, invented alternate current, AC power, AC electricity, whereas Thomas Edison discovered direct current, DC electricity power. And J.P. Morgan endorsed Thomas Edison and took down Nikola Tesla. And kind of sad if you learn about Nikola Tesla and the demise of his life. But I think the world having free energy could have been a wonderful thing. We could have had world peace had Nikola Tesla given the world free energy, and enough people had worked to obtain that free energy. And so I would have loved to have picked. I would love to eat lunch with Nikola Tesla and pick his brain and find out what is conspiracy and what is theory and what is actually fact, and what was he actually working towards. That would be cool. And then I guess the third dead person I would like to have lunch with. I mulled it over a couple of times. I thought about this before I recorded. I would have to say Alexander the Great. Again, a warlord, a violent person. I understand. Probably somebody that would chop my head off at lunch. But he lived an amazing life, and I played Assassin's Creed Origins, which you can go into you can go to Alexandria and the famous library Alexander the Great erected in Alexandria. I think he erected that. And I think you can go to the tomb of Alexander the Great in the game. Obviously, I don't think anyone is still aware of where Alexander the Great was buried, but I think in the game you can go to a hidden location and find Alexander the Great's sarcophagus. Oh, I can't remember the name of that, but you know what I'm talking about, you Egyptian historians. But yeah, it'd be cool to pick his brain, eat lunch with him, find out what his life was like as ruler of the world, of the ancient world. Who was your first movie star crush? I'm 33, so I'm a perfect age for Tiffany. I think it's Adamson. I can't remember her name. Kelly Kapowski from Saved by the Bell. But she doesn't qualify as a movie crush. I'm gonna say Princess Leia. Living in the household I lived in, it's kind of odd. Certain things were deemed okay for me to watch that maybe weren't in line with what my parents tried to raise me in. But I definitely couldn't see a lot of movies that were very, very risque and sexy. Although Star Wars seemed to be okay with my parents. Even Return of the Jedi. So, I don't remember ever truly being in love with Carrie Fisher. But it's hard to deny Slave Leia and Return of the Jedi. And I was 6, 7, 8 years old when I first saw Return of the Jedi in the movie theaters. I went to the movie theaters in the 90s when they re-released the original 3 movies in theaters. That's my first experience with Star Wars. So I'm just going to have to put that. No movie star really stands out because for me, growing up as a kid, I was kind of sheltered, wasn't exposed to a lot of adult movies, a lot of teen movies. I watched a lot of kid movies back in the day. If I watched an adult movie, it was very family friendly. So not a lot of exposure to sexy, beautiful women. But Kelly Kapowski for sure. I think every kid if you were a kid in the early 90s, that was every boy's crush. We all grew up with Kelly Kapowski from Saved by the Bell. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given? I gotta give it to Kanye West. You don't love a hoe. You can't love a hoe into a housewife. It just ain't ever gonna happen. It went a long way towards my pursuit of my future wife. I'm married to a wonderful woman. She's independent. She's very driven in her career. She's pursuing her passions. She's making a difference in the world. She's an ELL teacher, English language learning, where she's not, I hate to use this term, I don't mean it in a derogatory manner, but kids fresh across the border in this country, they find their way to this area of the country. We're in North Alabama. I don't know how they find their way to North Alabama, but they do. And she gets the second year kids that still don't understand a lot of English, and she helps teach them history, American history and world history. And she's making a difference in the world. She's a wonderful, incredibly beautiful woman. Some of the few moments I've ever cried in my life, once I became a man, I was a big crier when I was a kid, but I don't like for people to see me get very emotional. I'm very introverted. I try to bottle things up, but she's seen me cry. One of the few times I've ever cried was on her wedding day. She looked stunning, and I'll always think back to Kanye. You can't love a hoe into a housewife. You know, I dated a lot of crap women, a lot of trashy women, a lot of bad women. I thought I liked crazy women. I thought I liked A type of woman, B type of woman, C type of woman. And I finally just scrapped the list and I said, I got to look for a woman who's got her crap together, who's got a good life. She got to be beautiful, of course. But, you know, she's going to have to be going in a direction I want to go. I was going down a terrible path, and my life was getting worse and worse. And I was looking for a woman that was going somewhere that I would be inspired to get out of. And when I met my wife, I'm not going to say it was love at first sight. We built a very strong friendship for about 6 months. She had a boyfriend at the time. We are Walmart sweethearts. We met at Walmart, and the internet meme where a lot of guys send out there, me versus the guy my girl tells me not to worry about. I'm the guy my wife was telling her boyfriend not to worry about. Oh, he's just a friend. No, I was definitely trying to take her from her boyfriend, but I was patient. I wasn't very direct. I was just waiting on her to finally get tired of him. She wasn't happy with him, I'll be honest. I could tell it was a failed relationship, just going nowhere. And I was just waiting my turn while stoking the fires at the same time. But yeah, again, it goes back to Kanye. Don't love a hoe into a housewife. Find a good woman. Find a really good woman and settle down with her. Tie her down. What is the worst haircut you've ever had? I don't remember the specific haircut, but I remember being in a former. I don't think it's around anymore. It's in a building lot next to our old Books A Million, which Books A Million's not there anymore. It's in a strip mall that's failing in a certain side of town. It's called Lifestyles, and I have a memory. I was in kindergarten, so I'm 6 years old, and I think I told the woman a fade. I was coming out of the bowl cuts. My mom used to give me, and I told the woman a fade. She asked me what haircut I wanted, and I'm 6 years old. I'm not used to it. I'm used to my mom just telling them what to give me. And she either hadn't come up to the chair yet, or she was fumbling around in her purse or something. I don't know. But I told the woman the wrong thing, I think. I don't know. And she cut my hair way too short, and I remember crying and it being awful. And looking back on that memory, I feel so terrible for that woman that cut my hair. That's got to be a horrible experience, having a kid like straight up just cry. I mean, it was like shedding tears. I was so embarrassed. And I don't remember the haircut. I just remember being it cut too short and I didn't like it. And I felt stupid. And yeah. Anyways, that was the worst haircut I've ever had. What would your wrestling theme be? I've done this before. It's been my wrestling theme in one of the WWE games where you could download your own music onto the game. Wild Eyes by Parkway Drive. I think the intro portion of Wild Eyes is the greatest rock introduction of all time. I don't know if it'll ever be beaten. If you've never listened to Wild Eyes, maybe you won't like the rest of the song if you're not into the screaming music, but I would encourage you to listen to at least a minute and a half of Wild Eyes and that incredible intro with the crowd chanting and the guitar run there, the solo. It's incredible. And I even played it out right as soon as the guitar hits and the vocalist goes, "Oh!" I had the fireworks shoot off, and then my wrestler would come out to the ring. I made the crowd wait while the crowd chant in the song was going on, which was cool. The way it worked out in the game, it sounded like the fans were chanting the song. Just really cool. Again, Wild Eyes by Parkway Drive. I encourage you to look it up, and don't listen to the music video because I think there's some dialogue before you get to the song. Just look up the lyric video or whatever. And that first minute and a half, incredible intro. Which decade do you love the most and why? I'm a 90s kid, but honestly, I love the 80s. I wasn't born in the 80s. I didn't experience the 80s. Well, I was born in the 80s. I was born in 1989. So, you know, I didn't get to experience the 80s, but I love 80s movies, The Breakfast Club, Back to the Future. I love 80s wrestling. I'm having so much fun reviewing the WrestleMania, the 80s WrestleMania, and looking back on older wrestling. I love the hairstyle. I see these nostalgic clips on Instagram about remember the 80s, and I love it. I love 80s video games, the first Nintendo Entertainment System, and then music. You know, I did a Zweihander Top 10 Albums Challenge, and I had to put 1984 from Van Halen and Songs from the Big Chair by, I just blanked. They sing Shout, and Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Tears for Fears. There we go. Tears for Fears, Madonna. I love the music. Men at Work. I love 80s music. Top Gun, 80s movies. The Rocky franchise from, I don't know if Rocky 2 is 1980s, but at least Rocky 3, you know, to Rocky 5. Maybe not even Rocky 5 now that I'm thinking about it. At least Rocky 3 and 4. I think the first Terminator is the 80s. The Road Warrior is the 80s. All these fantastic 80s movies. I'm a sucker for the 80s. The video games, Pac-Man. I did grow up, in my earliest, fondest memories as a kid, you know, I caught the tail end of arcades being a real big thing in America. And I know the heyday of arcades was the 1980s, and I'd love to go back to the 80s and experience one of those huge, like massive arcades. Maybe experience Pizza Palace. And we had Chuck E. Cheese. We still have Chuck E. Cheese today. And maybe go back to experience a Pizza Palace in the 80s. That'd be great. Yeah, I love the 1980s. The fashion, all of it. They had a great time in the 1980s. Which song would you play at your funeral? Life Won't Wait by Ozzy Osbourne. First time I heard Life Won't Wait by Ozzy Osbourne, I knew I wanted that played at my funeral. I'd made requests. I've told friends, I've told family, you're going to play Life Won't Wait by Ozzy Osbourne at my funeral. I watched the music video for the first time ever. Just before I watched this, made this video, and it's not a rated R music video, but it's not family friendly. So if you go watch the music video to Life Won't Wait, just don't have the little ones in the room because it's an Ozzy Osbourne music video. But you know, it's even a funeral song. You know, it's definitely Ozzy Osbourne looking at his mortality, and the chorus. He's given advice about life won't wait for you. You need to live your life to the fullest, and that's advice I want my kids to cherish and put in their hearts. And whenever I die, I would like for my kids and my family to hear that, and instead of being sad, remember that life's not going to wait for you. You need to live life to your fullest, and don't let my passing affect how you live your life in a negative manner. So that's why I would like for that song to be played at my funeral. Again, Life Won't Wait by Ozzy Osbourne. I think it's off the 2011 Scream album. It's probably my favorite Ozzy Osbourne song, but I do love Shot in the Dark. That's a fantastic track. And then last but not least, this is the skippable question, but I figure I'd do it anyways. What is your cell phone background? And if I can put the pictures up, I'll put them up. And I'll put all pictures up if I can think of. Add a fun little edit to the video. In the video, I'll put the pictures up right here. But yeah, it's a picture of me and my wife. The lock screen is a picture of me and my wife taking a picture before one of our dates, and then the home screen is a picture of my son holding up a sign with a brief questionnaire or whatever he filled out for his first day of preschool last September, last August. Yeah, I mean, what parent doesn't have their kids on their cell phone, right? So that'll do me. That's my 10 random questions plus the skippable question. Yeah, Neil Collects, tag him, do the challenge if you want to. I have a fun time doing these questions. I hope I didn't ramble on too long, and I want to put this. I put this up for the real ones, the ones that care, the ones that are going to watch it. This is a preview of what I've got coming tomorrow and Friday. I'm going to be doing Action Comics 587. Love this cover as soon as I saw it. I had to have this book, and I'm so glad I found it in a dollar bin, and I think at Dave's Comics in Atlanta. I don't think I've reviewed an Etrigan book yet, Etrigan being probably my second favorite comic book character. Love to see what goes on in this issue. Fantastic cover. John Byrne, greatness. And then right here, Superman 75. Never read The Death of Superman. I haven't found a lot of material that... I haven't found a playlist of like the specific issues that lead into Superman 75. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to do as good enough a job as I did with the Fatal Attractions and Wolverine 75 video as far as the lead-in to Death of Superman. But I will definitely read and cover Superman 75 Friday. That'll send us out for the weekend on a really legendary, iconic book and prove to Fanboy Prime that I am Bottom Tier Collector and I do cover all things geeky. Until next time, guys.